Welcome back, Gentle Dorks, and off the back of my iconic scenes in movies, there was so many that I didn't add to the list that I'd put out. Some of them I didn't put out because they were the opening scene of the movie, and there was so many, so I thought I'll do a video about some of the most iconic opening scenes. The first one is Trainspotting. So, being Scottish myself, I loved the book, I loved the movie, and the scene itself, just with Ewan McGregor's opening monologue and the scene that's happening round about all that, it builds the movie to a point where what is going to happen next. It's such a fun opening to such a horrific movie. I mean, it's insane the stuff that happens in this movie. And to go from this silly wee scene about him being chased by a security guard and then to go where the movie goes, it's just such a massive jump to go from one to that. And I think it's things like that that make the opening scenes very, very iconic. The next scene I chose is from the 1989 Batman, just because it's really the first time that we've seen a darker version of Batman other than the comics. The comics had done darker versions of Batman, but up until this point, the public had as Batman was Adam West in the campy 1966 TV show. Not to belittle that Batman show, I mean, I love that Batman show, it was fantastic. But this was a completely different Batman, and it's just that scene with him catching the criminal and then him saying, "I'm Batman," it's just the whole thing was brilliant, and it was fantastically done by Michael Keaton, who people did not want as Batman. And I think after they saw that scene, I think a lot of people's minds were changed. The next one is from 2001 A Space Odyssey. Again, it's one of these opening scenes where it's been parodied time and time and time again. You might not know that you know the opening scene, but you'll have seen a parody of it, you'll have seen somebody doing it. It was used quite recently in the Barbie movie. They parodied 2001 A Space Odyssey down to the music, and instead of having the monolith there, they had Barbie standing there, instead of having apes and that jumping about and crashing bones that were crashing their dolls. And it's so iconic that even today, 56 years from when the movie was released, people are still parodying that scene. And it's just something that has stuck around for that long that even people nowadays will know that scene. From there, we move on to the next movie. It introduces us to Jaws. Now, this was back in 1975 for an opening scene of a movie to open on a death. It was rare at the time and still isn't usually done. It's what helps it stand out, and that's why I've got it on the list of the iconic opening scenes. From there, we move on to 1998 and the opening scene from Blade. This is one of the most iconic opening scenes, not just of any superhero movies, of any movie. Just the whole rave scene with the blood pouring down and then Blade coming in and everything just stops, and then the insanity of Blade decimating everybody in this club. And it shows where it's going to go. This is how it starts. Where can they take it from there? And it's essentially a mass murder at the start of a movie by the protagonist. This isn't the antagonist, he's the protagonist, and he's coming in and he's killing everybody. And that's the way he likes it. So that's why I've added that onto my list. From one Marvel superhero to another Marvel superhero, we move on to Deadpool's opening scene, which was essentially the trailer for the movie that got leaked, and then people were like, we need this movie. And from that being leaked, they had to make the entire movie. It gave Deadpool the redemption that he so needed, because what they done to him in Wolverine Origins was not good. And so they made this scene, which is an insane scene. And because of the whole leaked trailer and setting up the scene for the entire movie, that's why Deadpool is on my list. From there, we move on to another movie that starts with a death. There seems to be a recurring theme for the past few, but it's not the protagonist. Move on to 1978 and Halloween. Now, the opening scene, it starts off with Michael Myers killing his sister. What makes it even more iconic is the fact that at the end of the scene, and it pans out, and you see that it's not like a teenager or something, it's not like an older sibling, it's a younger sibling that's killed his sister. It was so out there. It's like, it is not something that anybody would have seen coming. You couldn't have started watching that scene and going, that's a 10-year-old boy that done that. You would never have in a million years thought that. And that is why I've had to put that in. The next opening scene, I was up and down on which Quentin Tarantino movie to use, because the openings in a lot of his movies are so iconic. To name a few, Inglourious Basterds is a fantastic opening, and you've got Reservoir Dogs with them sitting in the restaurant talking is fantastic. But as iconic of an opening, I had to put in Pulp Fiction, just because of the way they were sitting there talking about what they're doing, this and that, and then all of a sudden they're robbing the place. They go from calm and quiet to absolutely batshit insane. And obviously, with the way Quentin Tarantino builds his movies, this scene is actually in the middle of the movie, but they use it as the opening, and it's such a fantastic way to open your movie, because it doesn't let you know anything about what's happening in the movie. These are two characters that show up here, closer to the end of the movie, in the scene that's played out. And it's just to have that as your opening with characters who aren't really involved in anything else in the story. They're not even side characters to anything else that's happened. They just so happen to be there. And that just sets it aside from all the other Quentin Tarantino openings. For me, I think Pulp Fiction is his greatest movie opening ever. We move on from Pulp Fiction and we go to probably one of the most copied scenes in cinema history, and it is Saturday Night Fever, with John Travolta walking down the street to the Bee Gees music, to the beat, and the way it's just built up. I mean, that scene itself has been copied time and time and time and time again. They even copied it with the Spider-Man dance scene in Spider-Man 3, and it just goes to show that if you build an opening, it will draw people into your movie, and that drew people in, because where is this going to go? It doesn't let you know anything about any of the characters in the movie. It's just walking down a street. But from that, with the Bee Gees music, that is enough to make you go, what's going on here? Where's this going to go? I need to see. And so it draws you in. That's why I've got it so high on my list. I couldn't not have the number one at number one where it is. But before I get to number one, the opening scene from Watchmen from 2009, the whole opening scene with the comedian being killed, and then seeing the build up to why he's being killed, with the intro section after he's been killed. It sets up the entire movie. I mean, if you're a fan of the Watchmen comics, you know what was coming anyway. It just shows that this isn't your traditional superhero movie, and it's fantastic. For my greatest opening scene in cinema history, I don't care what anybody says, what other movies people say is the greatest opening scene to a movie. For me, it has to be The Lion King. It is the greatest movie opening ever. With an opening like that, it's like, where can you go? You start here, the opening takes it to there. Can you take it any higher? And the movie does take it a lot higher. So for me, The Lion King is the greatest movie opening scene of all time. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with me or not. Tell me your favourite movie opening scenes. Maybe I've got some of them, maybe I haven't. There's some that I left out. Let me know in the comments. Until next time. See ya.